Hey everybody, Chris here with another Sonicware Liven Lofi-12 video. So one of the things I started experimenting with during the sound design process on the Lofi-12 is just recording oscillator shapes in and setting up loop points just to use the Lofi-12 as a little basic synth. So I've made a pack of 2 banks of oscillators that you can download onto your Lofi-12, which you'll find a link in the description for. There's no obligation to sign up to any mailing lists or anything like that. I don't do that, so it's just go grab the zip file and you can use them straight away. The way you import them is you need to go into the sample editing mode, so we'll need the overlay. So we just pop that on, go into the sample editing select menu. So from here we can pick a bank we want to import them to. So when the bank buttons are green, that's banks 1 to 4, and double press them and they turn orange, and that's banks 5 to 8. So if I wanted to import one of the banks to bank 8, make it orange, and then we go import from here. And that will wait for MIDI to come in. So you need to hook your Lofi-12 up to a MIDI interface and play the files back using something like MIDI-OX or SendSX on Windows or SysX Librarian on Mac. So once the file's finished, you can just press OK, and those 16 sounds within that bank will be overwritten with the ones that I've provided you with. So there's 2 whole banks, one's a low oscillator bank and one's a high oscillator bank. So you can see we've got oscillator low and oscillator high. They are almost all the same waveforms, 2 octaves apart. So the Lofi-12 doesn't offer multi-sampling, so if you pitch down a high oscillator it can sound a bit mushy, and if you were to pitch up a low one it can start to sound a bit too aliased to really be useful. So this is kind of the next best thing, is we've got both high and low versions of the waveforms. So I'll just go through them one by one. In the low bank, we've got a saw, a square, triangle and sine. That's probably not going to be audible if you're watching on a phone. A sort of 10% pulse, 25% pulse. We've got pulse width modulation waveform, a saw that plays in fourths, like this, which is what I used in the intro to play that little tune. A square that plays in fourths, a octave, just 2 stacked waveforms on octave apart from each other, and then we've got the same with a square wave. Got unison saws, unison square, a low FM sound, a sync sound, and pink noise. And then if we go into the high bank, we've got high saw. So if you want to switch backwards and forwards quickly between the low and high versions of the same thing, it's just as simple as turning the bank knob. Yep, so high saw, high square, triangle, sine, 10% pulse, 25% pulse, another pulse width modulation patch, and then in fifths. So I decided not to go for high and low versions of either fifths or fourths because they sound much better pitched up. So we've got fourths, fifths and fourths respectively in the 2 banks. So square and fifths, again octaves and saw, octave and square, unison saw, unison square, a high FM sound. These aren't identical, they're 2 different patches because again they just didn't sound really right pitched up or down, so they're slightly different. And so are the sync sounds. That's very kind of groan tube, if you know what one of those is. That's much more sort of Hoover sound. And then, yeah, so that was sync, and then we got white noise and pink noise. So we can do a fair bit with these oscillators. Let's start off with just the low saw as an example. So we've got attack and release here. We can make the release longer. If we hold shift, we can soften the attack. We can turn on the filter, so it's off by default. We cycle through here with different little mini envelope shapes represented by the shape at the end of the selection. And so we can move the cutoff. And we can change the depth and the time. So So that's just some really basic stuff. And then we've got an LFO we can route to pitch. With different LFO shapes available here, different. And we can also route that to the filter. So let's just undo that for a second. And then we've got different voice modes too, so we can go into mono with an adjustable glide time. Which will re-trigger the envelope, but if we go into legato, we've got the same thing, again with a separate adjustable glide time, which won't re-trigger the envelope. So you get a smoother sound. If you keep scrolling through the voice modes, you get to an arpeggiator. And the release and gate time will affect the tail or the gate of that as well. And then if we want it to go faster, we can use the note value. There's different patterns for the arpeggiator as well. They're in the adjustment section here on the voice modes. We just need to tap this and then we can scroll through. Lots of different shapes. So really useful for arpeggiation. Let's go back to poly. So we've got an effects section too, so we can stick on a chorus. Or any of the following things. We've got delays, bit crushers, and loads of stuff, distortion, or extra filters and EQs and compression. And then of course we've got the reverb, so we can just turn the reverb send up, turn up the reverb amount, and change the reverb type if we want to. Add a little bit of wonk. And then of course we can just mess around with it and try the same thing with different waveforms. So all in all, quite a useful thing to try on the Lofi-12. So really hope that helped. Please like and subscribe if you found this useful, and I'll catch you in another video. Thanks very much for watching.